Hi everyone, Bandana here. I hope you're all doing well. Today we're taking a look at Stargate Timekeepers. Many thanks to Slitherine for the early review key so I could have this out for the embargo today. For me, this is a big trip down memory lane. I grew up watching Stargate SG-1 with my father, so it obviously holds a lot of nostalgia for me. Timekeepers is set in the same universe as SG-1 and sees you as one of the other teams working for the Stargate program. Starting out at the Battle for Antarctica, which viewers of the show will be familiar with, I must say I was very impressed with the little cinematic intro to this mission, by the way. It had a lot of flashbacks for me. Each mission is set up as a TV episode. Currently available is Season 1 Part 1, which consists of 7 missions total, and Part 2 will be released for free later in the year and will include another 7 missions or episodes. The game is a real-time tactics game with the ability to do tactical pauses, which has a couple of cool options that I'll discuss later in the video. Your team of characters each have their own skills and abilities which you need to progress through each of the episodes. It should be stressed that it's a stealth game first and foremost, though there are a few opportunities for some gunfights. Without giving too much away, the story starts with you helping protect SG-1 in Antarctica while they try to activate ancient technology to defeat the Goa'uld system lord Anubis. Following on from your success, you are sent to one of the off-world Stargate command posts, aka in this case the Lambda site, to help the rebel factions against the Goa'uld system lords. You have a range of characters at your disposal: Eva McCain, who comes with the P90, very reminiscent of the show. You'll also have Max Bolton taking up the role of a sniper, Atta, who is a Jafar rebel, Dr. Harper, a tech wizard with drones, and Sam Watson, a trained spy. I'd like to note the entire story and throughout the missions is completely voice acted by all of these characters and others, and also there's a full TV episode style voiceover and catch-up intro for every episode as well, which I thought was a really nice touch. I don't want to say too much about where the story goes, but it's certainly fitting of the old SG-1 TV show. So in terms of the gameplay, this is definitely not a run and gun game. Here you are aiming to silently take down your enemies using all the abilities at your disposal, and on occasion you'll be aiming to sneak past them without even firing a shot of any kind. In fairness, that's kind of true for the show as well. We often saw SG-1 sneaking around on a Goa'uld mothership, avoiding being seen. The missions have a variety of objectives. Some really throw you in the deep end, splitting up your team and thus meaning you lose some valuable abilities. What I will say is you need to also treat this as a puzzle game, because every room or area is like its own little puzzle, and you'll find yourself going back over them again and again and again to improve on that puzzle to get to the other side. The main objective in combat is to silently knock out your enemies, tie them up, and there are of course ways to then hide these people and move them about so they can't be seen and alert other enemies. You will also kill some people, but it depends on the weapons you're using and the type of enemy you're up against. In terms of combat and actions to take down your enemies, you'll make good use of tactical pause, which comes with a neat feature. In many games you unpause and the units just do their own thing. In Timekeepers there is a second option called Synchronize. This will attempt to synchronize the abilities of those characters that you have set up to carry out at the same time. Obviously this works very well if they are both carrying out the same or a very similar ability. I have noticed that it's a little bit buggy perhaps when you try and do this when they're doing very different abilities, as the sync doesn't seem to always go how I expect it to, and it's perhaps that the development team didn't really plan for us to do such weird and wonderful things with that synchronized ability, and I suspect we'll see some adjustments to that in upcoming patches. So there'll definitely be times when you want to use the synchronized ability, and you'll find there's other times when you just want them to do their ability right now as soon as you hit the button. The missions or episodes gradually increase in difficulty as the game progresses. There were a couple of times I felt some of the rooms were a bit too difficult, maybe with the amount of enemies cross-covering each other, as some of the enemies need specific special abilities to take them down, and there are often abilities which are then limited in availability. You might only get a couple of them per mission, and you have to find ways to recharge them in the missions, and not every mission has ways to recharge them. Episode 5 had one such room, and I ended up having to race across it after blinding all the enemies, as I was finding it impossible to progress any other way. What you will find yourself having to do is save very, very often, and the devs are aware of this and how important it is, and the game even reminds you that you have not quick saved. After 30 seconds since the last save, a timer appears at the top telling you the time since the last save. This can be changed in options though if you don't want to be reminded. I found myself, by the end of episode 7, hitting F5 almost every takedown because I didn't want to have to cover some of the rooms again. I mean, it certainly goes faster the more you play the room because you learn ways to take down each room in quick succession then. The score screen even shows how many saves you've made and how many saves you've loaded, so they 100% knew this was going to be a big part of the game. Overall, the gameplay was really solid and fun, though I found the rooms quite frustrating at times when you had so many enemies to get past. I felt like there was a point where it was just a bit too much and I wasn't progressing, but obviously your mileage will vary with this. One of the things I really liked was that Sam could disguise himself as enemy commanders and distract enemy troops. He was quite handy at knocking them out as well, since they didn't expect he was going to do that. I would also like to note that at this point all of the missions can be replayed, and some of them have significantly different routes you can take, and obviously the option of trying to do things very differently in terms of the takedowns and the abilities you use, etc. I did find the game a little bit buggy in places. A charged Mattock staff attack, for example, failed to execute multiple times, and the character just got stuck on the enemy and stuttered on the spot. Hopefully this sort of thing will be patched in quicker order. I did find that my orders are sometimes a little bit fiddly. I mean, you have to be sure that someone is in line of sight before you give an order, or it just won't happen, and especially if that enemy is moving at the time. I also found that there were a couple of missions where I got a bit of slowdown, or started to get some slowdown, and that really affected how orders were carried out, and obviously there was a distinct pause when something was supposed to happen and then maybe didn't happen. And I wonder if there is actually a little bit of a memory leak in the game at the moment, because restarting the game solved that on the couple of occasions it happened. I would say that overall the bugs were not such that they had an effect on overall enjoyment, they were just noticed. And I would also like to note that, bearing in mind I was playing this entire game through in one day, so I had the game running for long periods where other players are probably going to play a mission or two and then stop. So I'm not sure any memory leak would kick in as much for other people. Overall, I think the gameplay for these 7 episodes was about 8 to 10 hours, and working my way through them. Obviously, there being some repeated reloads in some areas as well. I think while saying 8 to 10 hours is maybe a good average, some people will blast through this faster, some people will take longer. It very much depends on your experience, how good you are at puzzle games, etc, etc, etc. I was very impressed with the sound in the game, very authentic to Stargate SG-1. The voice acting was very good for the characters and the enemies. You would worry sometimes in these games it's going to be a bit wooden, but that was not an issue here. Some very cheesy dialogue aside, of course, because they are doing TV show writing. Graphically, the game was solid, a good variety of environments that again felt very similar to the original show. Uniforms of all the characters were well made, and there was even a distinct variety between the System Lord troops and armors, and that was a nice touch that I didn't expect. There were also some nice effects going on in the different environments and with the different weapons. Stargate Timekeepers stays true in many ways to the formula of the SG-1 TV show, and is a massive trip down memory lane for me. As a game, it plays very well, and it is one you will certainly need to take your time over and plan things out, and not just often go charging in. Certainly no charging through Rambo style with a machine gun here. While there are only 7 episodes at launch, and the other 7 will come later, there is still plenty of gameplay to sink your teeth into, and there's certainly a lot of replayability for those who want to try the other routes and improve their score, / do things faster, / have as few saves as possible and as few loads as possible, or maybe even there'll be someone out there who wants to try and make it through the entire game doing 0 takedowns or as few takedowns as physically possible. While I've not seen them, I expect the next 7 missions will be equally long, so at its current price of $24.99, I actually think it's pretty good value for money. If they can patch out the little niggling bugs, then I would certainly rate this game a solid 4 out of 5. It's sort of sitting between a 3.5 and a 4 at the moment. On a personal note, while it's not been mentioned anywhere by the devs, I'm unsure how difficult it would be as well. I think much like Starship Troopers Terran Command, this game would benefit from a map editor so people can make little challenge missions and things. Just a thought, it sort of would set up for that kind of thing. Thanks for watching everyone, please let me know what you thought of the game down below if you've played it yourself. Otherwise, please like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you all soon for some more reviews.